Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Melissa from the Top Drawer RVA, hopping on to show you my latest Glam Vanity Makeover. This Art Deco beauty was in fabulous condition, but the owner really wanted to change her style. Today's color choice is going to be black in Anchor Silk Paint. As always, before you begin, make sure to remove all of the drawers and the hardware. You're going to want to clean your furniture inside and out with Pristine Clean or White Lightning. Make sure to rinse that Pristine Clean with water before you begin painting. When using Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint, you're going to want to make sure that you scuff sand your piece. I'm doing this to remove any shine from my project. There's also a small spot here on the top part that was bubbling. If veneer is bubbling, I always remove it. There's never anything worse than getting through with your paint job and realizing that that bubble will not go away. Repair any missing veneer with Dixie Belle's mud. Now that my piece has veneer issues repaired, I'm going to come in with my Anchor. This is Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint. It contains a built-in top coat and a built-in primer. Apply your Silk Mineral Paint with a smooth synthetic brush. Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint has that built-in top coat and built-in primer. When I was cleaning this piece, I could definitely see some of the tannins coming through onto my paper when I was cleaning with White Lightning. So this tells me that using this Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint is going to cut out the extra step of possibly having to use a primer like Boss to prevent any bleed through on your piece. This vanity project will take 2 full coats of Anchor. Don't forget that Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint dries in a different manner than chalk mineral paint. You're going to want to wait 2 hours in between your 2 coats of paint. While the paint was drying, it's time to tackle the hardware. We're going to keep the original hardware to this piece. It's a little tarnished and a little old, so I'm going to burnish it up with some gold gilding wax. This paint is amazing for having like a self-leveling property in it. I often get asked when I'm painting with silk if I've used an airbrush or a spray gun to paint my pieces. I always use a smooth synthetic brush, and this is going to eliminate any brush strokes. You also don't want to add any water when using silk paint. So along with having some veneer issues, the only other major problem to this piece was the fact that the little drawer stoppers were missing. You know the ones that stop your drawer from pushing all the way in and sliding to the back. Guess what? I have a little tip for you. Did you see those little metal clips? Their initial purpose is actually to secure chicken wire. I personally use them to create new drawer stops. After sanding back that Dixie Belle's mud to completely flat, I came in with my Anchor and painted directly over top of it. Dixie Belle mud sands back so super smooth, you're not even going to be able to tell that I repaired a massive hole of missing veneer. Time to come in and add that second coat of Anchor. You're going to find when you're working in small section, your paint is going to dry nice and even and smooth. Now, I needed to dress this up just a little bit more, so let's play with some stencils. I'm going to take my Dixie Belle clear coat in gloss and a blue sponge. I pour some of that clear coat into a small container. I'm going to lay down my Victorian Damask stencil and I'm going to gently blot on that beautiful gloss clear coat. Keep a steady hand, keep your hand still to hold your stencil down. Gently blot on that clear coat. What's going to happen is that you're going to cover that area that's exposed, and when you remove the stencil, you're going to be left with like a faded ghost stencil, something that only shines when you hit it in certain areas of light. So you'll see me blot it on, making sure to cover every single area. Then I'm going to gently wipe it back so that there's no remaining bubbles. I ended up using the same technique to all 4 drawers on the front of the vanity. Remember to use that gloss clear coat sparingly. You don't want to oversaturate or get any bleed through. So you're just going to definitely pat it on nice and gentle, showing that cute little stencil that's left behind. So along with this beautiful black silk paint, this client actually wanted to add a lot of gold stripes, metallic, anywhere where I wanted to put it. I decided to highlight that beautiful waterfall front by taping off some stripes. After laying down the tape, I sealed in the edges with my anchor just to make sure that I wouldn't have any bleed through. Let's add that shine. For today's gold, I'm going to be using Gold Digger from the Moonshine Metallic line. This is a really smooth metallic paint. I like to use a synthetic brush when applying it, and I'm going to have to build this paint up in at least 2 layers to cover and give me the depth that I'd like to put on the front. It helps to use a smooth, newer brush when you're applying metallic paint. This is going to minimize any brush strokes when you're applying that gold to the top of your piece. Make sure that you wait for your paint to get completely dry in between coats of your metallic paint. This way you're not going to pull back that original coat. You can use a heat gun to speed up this process. I used my small artist brush to get into the corners where I wanted the gold to kind of meet the edge of the tape. After 2 even coats, go ahead and peel back that tape and see your beautiful stripes. Now it's time for the mirror. This beautiful piece has a gorgeous vintage mirror. The client doesn't want to change the mirror because of the cost of replacing a huge circle of glass. So we're going to actually do a little trick, which you're going to have to wait till the end of the video to see, to take that vintage glass and make it beautiful. I had to remove some broken trim that was on the front of the mirror, and then I decided to replace it with Woodubend. I chose a Woodubend that would fit that space and marked it to cut. You can easily cut your Woodubend when you heat up the backing and use a sharp knife. This is the perfect plan to cover where the damages were and add a bit more scrolly detail to this gorgeous mirror. I love using Woodubend products. You can heat them up, bend them, you can paint them, stain them, drill holes through them, sand them. Honestly, the possibilities are totally endless, and you're going to see me use Woodubend on a lot of my projects. So I'm actually even going to use the little piece of the Woodubend that I cut off. I'm going to be using that at the top to kind of flank the mirror on each side. So how do you apply a Woodubend molding? Well, it's actually super easy. You're going to flip it upside down and heat it with a heat gun or a hair dryer. After you've heated up your Woodubend molding, you are going to find that it's bendable and pliable. So after cutting my Woodubend to size, I just heated up the back with my little heat gun, applied the wood glue, and stuck it right on the piece. You're going to want to make sure to heat your Woodubend one more time after you've applied it. This is just going to ensure that it is flat to the piece. If you have any excess glue, don't worry about it. You're just going to be able to wipe that back before you paint. Obviously, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I did the same process on the other side of the mirror. Once that Woodubend is on there and dry, you can paint right over top of it. So I then completed 2 even coats of the anchor around the entire mirror and all of that Woodubend. I ended up painting the Woodubend and trim on the front of the vanity in the same Gold Digger. So even though Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint has that built-in top coat, I still like to seal the top of my vanities or dressers. I'm going to wet my blue sponge and dampen it so that when I apply my satin clear coat, it will go on evenly with no overlapping marks. So I applied the satin clear coat to the top 2 parts with the gold and then the front piece as well. This is going to just give that little extra protection if somebody's sitting there putting on makeup or doing anything at the top of the vanity. I know that my piece will be protected well. After putting in all the original hardware, it was time to add a little bit more shine. I got out my gold gilding wax and one of my small artist brushes. I applied gold gilding wax around the edges of all the drawers and the bottom and the top. Basically anywhere where there's extra detail, I added a touch of shine. Since this gold gilding wax is an oil-based product, I can apply it last. There's no need to seal. So let's talk about the mirror. We all know that the cost of replacing the glass mirror would be really high. So since this client wants to leave the vintage glass, I wanted to add a little bit more flair to the top of this piece. Inside the buds and branches transfer tube, you're going to find some transparent flowers. I love these transparent flowers for accenting. I cut them out and applied them all around the top rim of the mirror. This is going to distract your eye from any of those marks on the vintage glass that we cannot remove. I'll leave these little transfer pieces just as they are. I will not seal them since they are on top of glass. Well, that is all. My beautiful Glam Vanity is complete. What do you think? Isn't she gorgeous? That faded ghost stencil on the front of the drawers adds a touch of class. Along with that beautiful little floral accent at the top of the mirror, takes it to a whole nother level. Thank you for joining me on my painting journey. I'm glad that you could come along and watch her progress. I am thoroughly happy with this piece. I think it turned out even more glamorous than I ever would have expected.